My name's Duane, and what's going to come up on this episode is my story about DW Video. Right after this.
The Discover Montcalm Podcast is brought to you by WGLM 1063 FM, Be More Media, Busy Bees Embroidery and Vinyl Signs, West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions, and DW Video. Welcome to the Discover Montcalm Podcast, where we are going to look at the communities, the businesses, the attractions, and the people that make up Montcalm County. Here is your podcast host, Kathy Murphy.
Hello, my name is Kathy Murphy. I am the owner of KJM Productions. And today I am here. I am hosting the 100th episode of Discover Montcalm. I've hijacked the host's mic from Duane Weed, who is normally here. And the reason for that is because in all of these episodes, people have given Duane information about their business or their organization. And, you know, no one ever hears about Duane in the way that I'm going to find out a little more about him and his business and a lot more interesting details about the man behind the sign, DW Video. And with that, here is Duane Weed, my dear friend.
Thank you.
Of many, many years.
Yes. Probably 97, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, I think it was. And, well, for me, also being, let me start on something that's even more important. Not only is this the 100th episode of Discover Montcalm, this happens to be Duane's and my 40th year in video. Duane as a video producer, mine was working in the television industry, which then I became an agency, and Duane went into his own business of video production, and 40 years later, it's just amazing the things that he has done. And I'm proud to call him my friend, by the way.
Something you may not know.
Uh-oh.
The name of the business, I wasn't very creative back then. The original name of the business was Duane Weed Productions.
Ah.
Real original. Then it went to Duane Weed Video Productions. Then it went to DW Video and Multimedia LLC. And then because of the onset of the internet, scaled it back to dwvideo.com.
Sure.
Because I didn't want people to go DW Video and is it the and sign or is it AND and then type in multimedia, So that's kind of a quick little, started with Duane Weed Productions, but the gentleman that produced my logo, the DW has been the same all the way through.
Oh, that's neat.
So when it got to scaling it back to, DW Video and Multimedia LLC, there's a logo, but then I shortened it to DW Video because it's just easier. That font is the same font from back in 1984.
Love those little tidbits, I do. Well, okay, so I want to get started because I have written down a whole bunch of questions, Duane, and
I'm trying not to look.
And I don't apologize. Anyway, so I want to know about. I've known you professionally. We've done lots of work together, but what I don't know is your beginnings. We've never talked about that because we're always so busy in front of the editing system.
Well, I was born in a shack in a swamp. Well, actually, that's
sounds like a country song.
Yeah,
but I know it's not true.
It is not true. Things are funnier here than what they really should be. I was actually born in Pensacola, Florida, when my dad was serviced there. And when I was born, he got to hold me for the rest of that day. The very next day, he had to go to Georgia to enlist.
Okay.
So left my mom in Pensacola with my dad's aunt and uncle. And after a year of there, when he did not re-enlist, he had a VW Bug and a U-Haul trailer behind the VW Bug. You don't see trailer
Don't see that
hitches
very often.
on them. Packed it full, came back to Michigan, and they bought a place in Morley, and that's where I spent my childhood.
Okay. What I know is that you've been married for a very long time, and I've had
decades,
decades, maybe longer than you think. But I have had the pleasure of getting to know your wife, Brenda. So tell me a little bit, or us a little bit, about Brenda and how you met.
Well, we met when I was playing in a band. I started in the band Reality my junior year of high school. Fast forward from 78 to, this would have been 1983, did a wedding. The band was playing, and there was this bridesmaid that kind of caught my eye. So I talked to the groom, got her name. We couldn't stalk at that time. There was no social media.
No.
There was no social media at that time. So I tried to look her up, got her address, and I decided to send her a letter. Well, when she got the letter, she got a chuckle out of it. Didn't remember that she knew there was a band there, but she had no idea who I was because we didn't really talk. Well, then we played a corporate party not too long after that for the business that she was working for.
Uh-huh.
Well, she saw me and purposely stayed out of my
Stayed out of
range.
sight?
Stayed out of sight. And then we played a wedding reception over in Sparta. There was a hall there. And I was sitting with at a table with, there's a bunch of gals. And as I'm looking across the table, there was something about this girl across the table from me, and it dawned on me.
That's the one from before.
That's the one from
Okay.
before. And I went up and I told the band, my bandmates, I said, okay, the fourth song is normally a soul song. It's going to be this song because I don't play drums on it. And they're like, no. I said, I don't care what the fourth song is. I'm coming off the stage. And she had just got done fast dancing with some guy and was walking away, and I tapped her on the shoulder where she thought it was that guy. And she didn't really want to slow dance with him. She turned around, it was me. So we made conversation. This was on a Saturday. On a Wednesday, I called her. I was down at my friend Jim Semania, and we set up a date for Friday. Well, our date was band practice.
Oh, of course.
We're going to go out after band practice. But I remember walking in the door, and sometimes I'm thick. I don't see things. The wives and girlfriends, they're friends. So I come in and I introduce Brenda to the gals. And then I go downstairs and practice and leave her with four strangers. She doesn't even know. And that didn't come out till later. Then we head off to this rock and roll club. And I remember they were playing Judas Priest, Living After Midnight, and I leaned over to her because, we're getting to know each other. And I said, so what kind of music do you like? And she goes, country.
Of course.
But
perfect.
There it is.
There you go.
And it was...
She probably made it so that you learned to acquire a taste for country music, and maybe she acquired a taste for some of the stuff you do as well.
Yeah.
Or did.
But this would have been in April, I think March or April. And when you know that it's the right one, and my mom, God rest her soul, it was in August of that month that I asked her for her hand.
Oh,
so we went from March, April, and in August. And she said yes.
That's it. She could have said no, but
she very well could have.
Didn't.
And then we were married the following June in
Wow.
in 1987. So, that's how that happened. And then in 90 we had Rachel, and in 93 we had Brian.
And they're completely grown now. I've had the blessing of knowing your kids because we've been together for so long, working together, that very often they were here or about.
We would like to thank our sponsor, M1063, WGLM, FM, your locally owned and operated radio station, playing the widest variety of music to keep you moving with local news, sports, and weather. Visit m1063.com.
How did you start your career in video production?
Well, I went to Ferris in electronics. So back then, Ferris was Ferris State College, because back in 83, it was still a college. It didn't turn into a university until 86. And I thought electronics was where I was going to be. And back then it was quarters. It wasn't semesters. So I did the fall quarter, the winter, spring, and summer came around, and I'm working on the TV. And, I got the big TV there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm doing all the tests and all of that. And I went, I don't like this. This is not what I want to do.
No, your brain is so far beyond that.
So I got with one of the counselors, and through conversation, we decided that they had an AV program there. And being a musician, music and that kind of stuff, and AV was, slideshows, audio production. It was kind of the onset to the next step, which would be television production. So I transferred and haven't looked back. In 83, the end of 83, my last two semesters, which would have been 83 fall and 84 spring, did an internship down in Waterford. And Waterford Cablevision. It was great. I guess it was 83 summer and fall, because in the winters when they hired me full time.
Okay.
But then after Christmas break, I come back, and the general manager brought me in and said, "We need to put you to part-time." And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute.
That had to be discouraging.
Life is full of lessons, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, and I'm sitting there, and I'm hearing it, and I'm going, I am out-producing the two other people here. Now, I'm single. I love what I do. So we did local programming, and I was doing more local programming than the two of them combined. So, but then again, there's a life lesson. So I reached out to Bob Hunter up at Ferris. He was my instructor. And I said, I'm looking for, where can I go? Do you know of any jobs? And he says, well, I need a production assistant here at the college, and they need somebody in the media production to produce. So when you're not working for me, you'll be working for them. And that went for 2 semesters. The third semester came along, and he didn't teach that semester. And the other instructor, I was to go work as his production assistant. And I remember at the time, I respected him as an instructor, but I didn't really like how he treated people. And I
That's
didn't
important, too.
I didn't feel like it was something that I wanted to, So I hopped on my motorcycle. I went back to Waterford. My friend Greg Hendershot spent the weekend there. We had a good time, and it was kind of my soul searching. And I remember coming back and walked in and talked to my dad, and I said, I think I want to start my own business. And this was August of 84. And he goes, yeah, I'll support you, but you're probably going to need some money for equipment. You're going to need some startup.
Sure.
So he says, I'll co-sign But he looked me right in the eye and he said, I will not be paying this back. And I knew that. My dad, I'd done some part-time, mowing lawns, a newspaper, anything that we could do.
And he was teaching you one of the most ethical things that a father can teach his son. You take out a loan, you pay it back.
Well,
you're responsible. So he was teaching you something in the process and supporting you.
And that started it all.
Yeah.
And that started it all. So I started off in Morley, and then that was in 84, and then in 87 got married, moved. Brenda and I found this place here, and though we started in a trailer, we then put the house in, the addition, we built a studio that we're still doing production in today.
Yeah, I love coming to your studio, that's for sure. I guess I want to ask, about some of your projects. What projects were the most rewarding that you can think of? Or, maybe there's one that stands out above the rest.
What I've been doing lately has been going through a lot of archives of photos. I've done more productions that I don't even remember, and, as I'm going through, I'm also sorting here, so I'm trying to get rid of stuff. And I came across probably well over 1,000 pictures that I scaled down to just a little over 100 that I'm scanning in.
Wow.
And, as I'm looking at these, and I don't have pictures of everything I did, but as I'm going through, my very first job was working for Norm Benzing, going up to Lake Gogebic to do a project, a product promotion for his, and it was dealing with hunting, archery.
Okay.
And I've hunted, never bear, but I've hunted, but I'd never done archery, which meant I had to get this climber to go up a tree.
Okay.
I'd never done that before. So I spent the afternoon going up and down trees to get used to it. We then head out to do the job that night, and I'm going up this tree. I remember putting my safety harness around the tree, and as I turned around, those scissor jacks back then, if you put any weight toward the back, it releases it.
Oh, no.
I then went right to, the scissor jack went all the way to the bottom.
I can laugh because I'm here with you,
Yeah.
but...
And I'm hanging up there
No.
with the safety strap. Norm gets the safety strap back on. I get on, and that rest of that night was long. I wanted to go home. I was hurting.
Oh, sure.
But, you got to...
Lucky you didn't break ribs.
And I didn't know at the time.
Neck.
And we did have a bear come in, but back in 1984, the cameras were not that sensitive to light.
Oh.
So I'm sitting here looking at a screen that and fortunately he missed. It could have been one of those things that it would have been a record animal, and I don't have any evidence of it. And you can't put lights on.
No, because they don't come in when the lights are on.
So that was the first job.
We would like to thank our sponsor. West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions is your local source for managed IT, websites design and hosting, digital marketing, and more. Check them out at wmtds.com.
Did a lot of weddings and that early on, but I knew I wanted to get into corporate because there was more money, and finally worked my way out of weddings. I've been transferring film and that all my life. It's changed from VHS to DVD, now to digital. I'm the guy that has all of the Betamax and the old, I got 8mm video, high 8, digital 8. I've got a museum.
3/4 inch.
Yeah, I got 3/4 Betacam SP. But over the years, I've had some pretty cool jobs. One of them, I was doing a job for Mackinac and Sagnignus. And Mackinac, Sagnignus, and Sault Ste. Marie. I'd say there's three
Is
of them.
that those photos, those really cool photos of you up on the bridge?
The International Bridge.
Yes.
Yeah. My son came up with me to help me on that project. And, being an international bridge, we had to sign our life away. So he signed his name. I had to co-sign because he was underage. And they assigned me somebody, and we're going out and we're looking at the bridge. And as we're putting it on the harness, my son put two legs, went to pull it up, looked up at the bridge and said, "I'll take the keys." He says, "I'll wait for you in the car."
Oh.
I hate heights, but I had to climb. So, and there are pictures of me on top of the bridge.
Yes.
And I've learned, I used to work a lot with thermal tech roofing, and we're always up on roofs. Well, I learned a long time ago that these guys are monkeys. Let them carry the equipment. Let them carry it. I'll worry about hanging onto the darn ladder,
Sure.
going from the ladder to the roof, or in the case of the bridge, it's steel. It's not going anywhere, but I'm walking a beam that's probably like this, and I've got my
what
safety.
you're used to doing on the ground.
But once I got up to the top, my view looking right down the Sioux Channel. I mean, I was supposed to be on the Mackinac Bridge the next day. That next day came and it got canceled because of wind.
Oh, sure.
But there's that. But the thing that I found that I really liked was working for small business, helping their business grow. And
you have been such a catalyst for that through Buy Local Michigan,
Yeah.
through what we do together is 90% small business, and that's kind of what brought me to you to begin with,
Yeah.
through a mutual friend first.
Yeah, John Heitman,
John Heitman.
God rest his soul. I think he
Yes.
passed in 2002.
Yes, yes. A huge tragedy for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And the blessing that came out of that was that then I started using your video production more and more and more, because I used to use studio production from television stations. And
then you started
there-
working with John, and that was
Right.
kind of your step toward.
right toward
Yeah.
you, and the rhythm that we developed in working together, and the flexibility it was so great, because you didn't have that flexibility. You were just on the clock with a television company or a station, and it felt a little bit stifling.
Right.
And I could bounce an idea off you or you off me, and that our collaboration is what made it so great working together.
Yeah.
And boy, we did a lot
We
of
did a lot,
projects
and
together.
it's been fun, and I'm blessed that I've got that relationship with a lot of my customers.
I'm
Even
sure
though
you do.
going through some of these archive photos, I don't remember some of the jobs. I've done so many of them.
I'm sure.
I wish I could, but at the same time, as I'm looking through these pictures, I'm going, "Oh, I remember that." I do remember.
Well, and you document so well. That's something I don't do as well as you do, and I admire you for that as well.
My good friend Mark Brewster, I reached out to him. He was working at Meyer. We met up at Ferris. I asked him to help me marketing, and he came in, and I was doing a video, and I'm better at helping you come across or a person coming than to, and he told me, he says, "You are the face and the name of the business. You need to get over it and go do it."
Yeah.
And at that time, I was on videos back when it was VHS and DVD, where now with social media, it's a given. So Mark was ahead of his time, but he also said, you got to go do this. And so I'm blessed with the people that I work with.
That's wonderful.
We would like to thank our sponsor. Check out Busy Bees Embroidery and Vinyl Signs, your one-stop shop for your embroidery and screen printing needs. Located south of Stanton, go to cvsdbusybees.com.
Okay, so 40 years of DW Video, but there's something else that you have transitioned to in the last 3 or 4 years. Seems like forever, because it takes us out of the loop with each other. But by the same token, I am seeing such a light in you because of what you're doing now. Tell us a little more about what you're doing with the digital arts.
Well, in 2020, we had the pandemic, and it hurt a lot of businesses. It hurt my business.
Mine as well.
I was not an essential. Though I had some businesses during that time that were saying, the heck with it, we're going to do stuff. And I'm like, okay, we'll just be safe about it. I mean, none of
Sure.
us had been through a pandemic before.
Exactly.
You know, but in that year, Shannon Tripp, the principal of the Montcalm Area Career Center, reached out to me, basically asking me, did I know of anybody that would teach this brand new program? Well, being a man of faith, I figure that things are brought to me when they're needed, that I need to at least walk through that door. And I did. And I told her, I said, I'd be interested in interviewing. The one thing about Shannon that I laugh about is about 5-10 minutes into the interview, she started calling it my class. So I'm here for an interview going, I think I got the job.
Oh my gosh.
So I either
that's
got the
funny.
job because she got to the W's, but I have been, the good Lord knew where I needed to be. And I take that very seriously. And the fact that Shannon and Sharon, the curriculum director over there, and the other instructors there, I'm a business guy coming in and teaching. I had done some stuff at Ferris. I had done some stuff at Greenville. And, so teaching wasn't foreign to me. Running my own program, building up, get accredited with the state, there's guidelines, but then I'm in charge of my lesson plan. And I remember the first couple of years, I'm basically making it up as I went. I really am. And I found out from the other instructors, that's normal. When they walk into this kind of a situation, that we all know that it needs to be done.
You created your own starting point, and you built on that and built on it. So as you were in the process of teaching and you were still new at it, there was something we needed to do together, and you had me meet you at your new classroom, and I was just so impressed that you had gone from this scratch program to this whole room with more children, more equipment. You were making things happen there, and you can be really proud of that, Duane, because I was also on the phone with you many times.
Yeah. On my way over.
On your way over.
Yeah, because we're still doing business. The one thing that's always been the hard part for me is them calling me Mr. Weed. That's my dad.
Yeah.
Of
course.
But the nice thing about the, I guess I would say the nice thing about the Career Center is I give the kids a choice. You can call me Mr. Weed. You can call me Duane. We are in a business setting. I treat my program like it's a business, like I'm the boss,
Right.
and they're the employees. So we're teaching those skills, and it's interesting. The more they're comfortable, I mean, some of them still call me Mr. Weed, and that's fine because their parents taught them respect.
Yes.
But I can tell when they're more comfortable with me, all of a sudden someone
They
who
start-
was calling me Mr. Weed now calls me Duane, and that's perfectly okay.
I'm sure. Now, okay, with this new digital arts thing, and with having DW Video for 40 years, and having marriage, and having life and church, how do you balance it all? What's your do you have a method? Do you have advice?
I have no advice. I have no method. I'm fortunate. I love what I'm doing. They say if you love what you're doing, you never work a day. Well, 2020 coming out of that, teaching became part of one of those things. My video business, still running that. I play music.
I forgot to mention that.
But the nice thing about the music, it's almost like therapy.
Yes.
Where
It's
else
your
can
relaxation.
where else can I beat things with sticks and not get arrested for it?
Exactly.
But music has always been my happy place. And though I work a lot,
Duane is an amazing drummer, by the way.
thank you.
Sorry.
Though I work a lot, I love what I do. And where some people come home and they've got a wood shop, or they've got, they're restoring a car. Me, I just do this, and I do the podcast. The podcast kind of came out of it. It started off as a documentary, and though it didn't end up that way after 2020, I'm like, okay, I tried it as a documentary, couldn't get the money. What am I going to do with it? And that's where the podcast came.
Be More Media helps businesses be seen, be heard, and be more profitable. Be More Media helps small businesses get seen on Google and found through digital marketing and print marketing strategies. Visit them at bemoremedia.com.
I still find it hard to believe that you have produced 100 episodes of Discover Montcalm. I'm telling you, there should be a plaque on the wall that says, I completed 100 podcasts, because
I'll get a participation ribbon.
There you go. That should be a plaque on the wall, or even if you made it for yourself, just for coming up with that many ideas, talking to that many people, and putting that many out there. That's a lot of work. I don't need to tell you.
Well, and it didn't start out. I did not have a mission. I had a plan that I wanted to tell Montcalm County's story. I met with Phil Tower back when I had the idea. Phil had been in radio, is still in radio, been doing a lot, and he helps businesses with podcasts. And he sat down and he told me, you're kind of pigeonholing yourself if you put a border around it. But he said, no one else is doing it. And you're never going to run out of stories.
And you didn't.
And I didn't. And I just keep pushing. And then all of a sudden, I did 50. I did 60. And then all of a sudden now, we're now talking about the 100th. And at this point, I also have about maybe 8 to 12 in the can produced, ready to go, so I'll just kind of keep ahead of things, because I'm not going to run out of stories.
That's you too. You're a planner.
I try.
And not to mention, so you've got that going, and you've been very involved in community and chambers.
Yeah. In the 90s, mid-90s, I was fortunate to be one of 9. There's a group of 9 of us that started the Panhandle Area Chamber here, and they voted me the director. Well, Chuck Halterman voted me the director. We're sitting right, and I'm just now, because the board picked its officers. And I remember getting ready to say Chuck, and Chuck threw my name out first, and before I knew it, and I joked with him afterwards, and he goes, "That's experience, young man." Nominate somebody before they nominate you.
There you go.
But I did that for 6 years, and then kind of left that. I kind of burned out. I was in multiple chambers doing, on different committees.
Well, and every meeting and every committee takes you away from
the business.
Your business, too. It's nice to be involved, but it takes you away from business.
So fast forward to a couple years ago, or a little over a year ago, I get a call from Bruce here in town. He wants to get the chamber, because the Panhandle Chamber closed up in like the 2018-ish, 17. He wanted to bring it back, but this time he wanted to come back as the Howard City Chamber. And I remember I was heading out to the meeting, and Brenda goes, "So what meeting are you off to now?" I says, "Well, the group of people here want to start a new chamber." And she looked at me. Just
real.
She looked at me and she says, "You will not." She doesn't put her foot down hard on certain things. She says, "You will not be the director. You will not sit on the board." And when I showed up that day, there was a group of us, and because Bruce wanted me to help with the bylaws, because I had been there,
right?
And I wanted to share the experience. And I mentioned it to the group, because the group was like, "Oh, he knows what he's doing."
Let's have him,
and I'm
everything.
like, no. I went, no. Bruce, this is his baby, And my wife forbid me to do it. So Bruce, in his wisdom, called me the consultant. So I have a title that is not on the board. And
Yes.
now that the chamber's up and going, he had it. He just needed help at the beginning.
Sure.
But it's all about being local and surrounding yourself with people and helping.
You've always, since I have met you, that's been right out there. Duane, what's one of the biggest lessons you've learned over the years?
Oh my goodness. There's no participation ribbons in business or in life. That you have to work, and sometimes work hard, and you're going to fail. And you're going to, you got to figure out how to get back up. And the one thing I learned early on, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich book, was basically about surrounding yourself with people that know more than you and have a network of people that you can go to. And I took that to heart. And, my business had web designers, graphic designers, other photographers, videographers, editors as they would be consultants, but, subcontractors.
Sure.
Because they could do things in some cases that I couldn't.
And we've done that.
And we've
together.
done that. So networking, knowing who to call. I've got Al outside of Chicago that we have been, we're in the same business, different markets, but we help each other.
Right.
There's John up in New York, that's the same thing. There's Frank and there's Dan. One of my former students, Ben. I surround myself with people that can help me.
Right.
And hopefully in turn...
And it diversifies you as well. I mean, where your strength may be in video, and you have many strengths, though. It would be hard for somebody to find one that you don't
Well,
exemplify.
With
but-
that, in 2020, I realized when my class went from just part-time to full-time, and I tried to run my business full-time, there's no S underneath this shirt.
Right.
By the end of that school year, I was whipped. I tried to run my business full-time and teach full-time, and then I was able to diversify, bring in these people that were basically my production assistants that are very talented videographers and producers and designers. And just like somebody would hire somebody, I'm letting them do more work, and I'm managing it, which is a sign of a good business. I probably should have done it 30 years ago, but that wasn't in my plan. And now it is, and that's the part that I'm enjoying. So just don't give up. Just don't give up, and, have a team of people that will help you and tell you if you're wrong or you shouldn't do that. Yeah, I don't want to surround myself with yes people.
Exactly.
I want to
Honest
surround
people is you want people that will tell you what is going to help you grow, what will hold you back, what
Exactly.
will work for you, and you can gain from their experience without having to go through it
I've
yourself.
learned so much. I've learned so
Yes.
much.
DW Video transfers your home movies, slides, audio, and videotapes to digital. They produce and design websites, create business and social media videos, TV commercials, and family storytelling videos. Celebrating 40 years in business, visit dwvideo.com to learn more.
So what do you have in mind for future goals?
Well, the funny person in my head is to live.
Yes.
I'm at that age that I could retire. A couple years. But the teaching thing,
You're
I could-
really loving that. I can see that.
it's a challenge. It's making me think. It's keeping me fresh. And it's the challenge of starting something new. I'm not a mechanic. I don't have a wood shop. If I retired, a lot of people do that kind of stuff. I'm still doing what I like to do, and I'm getting paid for it. And as long as I'm healthy and I'm able to do it mentally and physically, teaching seems to be a good place for me. I don't hurt after I do it. After I teach, I might be more frustrated with some of the students at times, but
Sure.
I don't hurt. And
It's like having kids all over again.
well, and finding that my experience is something that I can pass along. Now, also put that in perspective. If you're 11th and 12th grade, are they really listening to you?
I think
They may not
Dwayne,
listen to me till they're 19 or 20. They'll go, oh, I remember that lesson. And that's okay. I don't know if I remember all of the advice I was given at that age, but I'm in a position where at least I can give it.
Exactly. Is there anything we haven't covered that
Oh,
you would like to share?
you got me talking from birth to now. So there's, I don't think there really is. Just that enjoy, have your companionship, have your family, have faith, have something that you enjoy doing. If you're in a position where you don't like what you're doing, go back to school.
Yeah.
Find another something. For me, music keeps me young. It is a thing that I love to do, and I'm fortunate with my Just Jammin' guys and the Welcome to My Basement page on Facebook that I can still play music. I can still do things. I'm part of the worship band at church. So I think we kind of touched on.
Stay involved, kind of, is what I think that's really good advice. So the big question, I'm sure that after all of this and after the many episodes, if you've never watched one or if this is your first one, you're going to want to know how to get in touch with Duane, because I'm sure there is something you can help someone with, a production that they need done, a transfer that needs to be done. You are so multifaceted in what you do that, I can't imagine. So please tell everyone how to get in touch with you.
231-250-9624. 231-250-9624. You can reach out to me, you can text me, and you can search Duane Weed. There are other Duane Weeds out there, but if you do Duane Weed in Michigan, I'm one of the only ones that show up. Go to dwvideo.com. Go to the Discover Michigan. Oh my goodness! Now I'm doing
now
you.
You're doing it. I was doing it before.
Discover Montcalm Podcast.com. That's funny. We even complete each other's sentences. But just reach out, whether it's for a production or you want to be a guest on the show. I'm here to tell your story. It's a conversation, not an interrogation. And I really do want to get to know the people behind the sign or that business or that grandparent that has grown up in the county that just has some good history.
Sure.
That's what it's all about.
You've shared all of that in those podcasts. Duane, I want to thank you for getting me out of my comfort zone today, because this is the very first podcast that I've ever been involved with, and very first time I've ever done an interview. So thank you for
thank you. I couldn't think of a better person to ask.
Thank you.
And on that note, I will end the podcast how I always end the podcast. You can find Discover Montcalm Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as going to discovermontcalmpodcast.com. You can check out all the episodes there. Remember to buy and shop locally.
The Discover Montcalm podcast is produced by content creator Duane Weed, celebrating 40 years at DW Video and Multimedia LLC at dwvideo.com or call 231-250-9624. The Discover Montcalm podcast is brought to you by WGLM 106.3 FM, Be More Media, Busy Bees Embroidery and Vinyl Signs, West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions, and DW Video. Connect and follow the Discover Montcalm podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Check out all our episodes at discovermontcalmpodcast.com. We look forward to featuring your business, community, nonprofit, events, and more. Contact Duane at 231-250-9624, 231-250-9624. Thank you for tuning in and following the Discover Montcalm podcast.